Hey everyone, welcome to Flutter Atlanta. Thank you to all the Black Airplane people tuning in. I know this is kind of our lunch and learn here. So really quick, my name's Emmett Deen. I am an engineering manager here at Black Airplane, and I'm accompanied by Will Marple, which depending on where you look, he's either a distinguished engineer, principal engineer, lead full stack engineer, something along those lines. Very experienced web developer. He is also having some upcoming talks at Connect Tech in November and workshops. So if you're interested in hearing more about all the speaking engagements that Will's doing, make sure you check out Connect Tech. I think Flutter Atlanta might also have some discount codes to that conference if you're interested. So what we're doing today was an inspiration from Will. He consumed some content that's similar to this, where I essentially am going to describe to Will what to do as we walk through building an app together. As you imagine, if you're a developer, we're not only programming live, so things will probably go wrong, but Will is essentially also blindfolded because he hasn't done Flutter development before. So I'm going to be attempting to guide Will as we make a simple little application here. And yeah, Will, is there anything else you want to say before we dive in?
No, I'm super pumped for this. I think that this is not only an inspiration to propagate knowledge that might be siloed within our organization to other developers, but also just the tech community, dev community writ large. I have to give a little shout out to Learn with Jason podcast with Jason Langsworth. He's the one that really inspired me in this, inspired this idea. I think it's a really cool idea to make what might otherwise feel too daunting. I think as web devs, probably most of us have all had this thought oh, I had this little app idea, but it really should be a mobile app for the customer facing piece, and what's the best pathway for that for me as a web dev? And I think I know that we've seen a lot of success for our clients using Flutter as a technology at Black Airplane. And so this is just kind of a natural choice for me. It's been something I wanted to kind of pick your brain on and learn for a long time. So I'm pretty pumped for this, and I hope that it pumps up the rest of the web dev community.
Awesome. Yeah, so what we're going to be building today, we're calling Top Gun Chat. We wanted to do something somewhat in the AI realm and is basic enough of an app that we could accomplish in at least a couple episodes of this maybe. So the plan here is we're going to build a basic chat application that's going to interact with Gemini, since they have a really nice SDK for us to interact with Flutter. And at the end, we'll try and tweak it to either sound like some Top Gun characters or something along those lines. So awesome. Well, we can go ahead and dive in, but before we do that, let's recap what we've done so far. We're pretty much starting from nothing. Again, Will has pretty much no Flutter experience to this point, but to get this project up and running without having to go through a whole bunch of setup, we're actually going to use Project IDX here. So all we've done is we go to idx.dev, get signed up, and we just hit initialize Flutter project. It'll initialize it right there for you in the browser, and it'll even spin up these emulators. We're using a web emulator here just because that's the one that works best, but we have it set up to kind of look like a mobile phone. So yeah, we've also done Firebase configuration, so we don't have to expose any Firebase files on our live stream. And yeah, we can go ahead and get started.
Should we share out the repo? Would they need the repo? If somebody wants to follow along, what would be their best onboarding path?
Yes, I'll drop a repo in the chat, and I'll actually put it in the description after this because we're about to make a whole bunch of changes to it. So how about I'll just add it to the video description if you're interested, and then Black Airplane people, I can also send that out in our Slack after this.
Cool.
Awesome. So generally all the code that we're going to be focused on writing is going to be in this lib directory here, where we have that main.dart and Firebase options.dart file. You'll see we're looking at this main.dart file right now, which is just out of the box, very simple. They kind of have everything going on here, this entire screen and the entry point. So what I like to do first is I normally create 3 folders in my lib folder because we try and follow a variant of a clean architecture. So let's go ahead and create 3 folders, one called data, one called domain, and one called presentation.
Yeah. I'll say one called domain, and then one called presentation.
Perfect. So now, generally what's going to live in our presentation folder, let's go ahead and start there. This is where you're going to have things like your pages, your router, localization, if you're working with that, various widgets, all of that. So the first folder let's make inside of presentation, let's actually make one just called app. Then let's make another folder inside of presentation called pages. Awesome. So now let's go into the app folder and let's create a folder called view. And then let's make a file called app.dart. Awesome. Oh, there we go. So now so there's two types of widgets out of the box with Flutter. One is a stateless widget, and then one is a stateful widget. And widgets are essentially the building blocks or Legos of putting together a Flutter app. We are going to end up opting to use a state management library. So when we do that, we pretty much will never use stateful widgets. There's going to be a couple times that are edge cases where we might need something specific for a stateful widget, but generally all the widgets we're going to create are going to be stateless here. So let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Is that very similar to like how we would be thinking for like Vue or React, where we would have like a global state management system in place versus like having state that's tightly coupled to inside, like living inside a component managed and mutated within that component?
So with the state management packages, you will have opportunities for both global state and managed kind of by that component itself. When we get to that point, we'll kind of talk about how the dependency injection works and which pieces are managing the state. Cool. But right now, let's go ahead and just create a class called app. So just class space app, capital A.
Oh. Okay.
And then extends stateless widget.
Stateless widget.
Yep.
Oh, there was a couple of different ones I could. Okay.
That's good. And then do opening braces. Yep. And let's see here. We can just go ahead and make that constructor that it's recommending. You can just, hit tab, do your curly braces here. So this is what's called a build method. So build methods essentially is going to be what determines is getting rendered here. So the build method is where we're going to do all the magic of combining widgets together. So every widget essentially is just a combination of other widgets. This is going to be our entry point. So just like it's recommending here, we want to return a material app. And let's see, you need to get rid of that comma and put a semicolon, I believe. Let's see what it's, you might need one more parentheses before the semicolon. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so this is going to be our new entry point. Right now, the entry point is that main.dart. And when you spin up a Flutter project, it's always going to run off of main.dart generally. Some of the projects that we do now, we also use something called flavors. So we'll actually have like 3 different main files, one for development, one for staging, and one for production. For this case, let's just stick with one main.dart file. So if you head over to your main.dart file really quick for us.
Oh, I already had it open there.
So if you scroll up, see they actually had this stateless widget, my app, all right in here, which is a little bit of a mess. So the function we're actually worried about is this online 3, just main. That's going to be the entry point. And right now it's calling run app and then calling my app, which is that stateless widget right under it. Let's switch that out for the new file we just created that was just called app.
Okay, and that is going to be this guy here. So it's going to be this. We want app here, right?
Yeah. And then you can do command period will be the autofix. Yeah, it looks like it automatically imported for you. So now under this, after line 6, let's just get rid of everything there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So this whole bit here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So all of this stuff?
Yeah, so all of this right now is just this demo app that we have on the right, that incremental counter.
Got you. Okay.
So we'll just go ahead and get rid of all of that there. Awesome.
Cool.
So let's head back to our app.dart file really quick.
App.dart, got it.
So again, right here, it's spinning up a material app. It's going to have a title. It's going to have a theme. This theme data is all going off of the material theme. So most components in Flutter are actually built off of a very basic material element at some level. There's two main UI libraries that we have access to, which are Material, which is Google's, Android's, and Cupertino, which is going to be Apple's. Material, obviously, much more fleshed out than Cupertino is because it's a Google product. But Material these days, it's not like Material 2 was a while ago. Material 3 is highly customizable. You can really make these elements look like anything you want. So you'll see that there's a basic theme coming in here where it's just setting a color scheme to purple, and it's using Material 3. If we had an app that was going to have a lot of pages, this is also where we would pass in the router. In this case, I don't think we're going to need a router, at least not yet. So let's not build something that we don't need to build. But if we don't have a router, we'll need to provide essentially a home page. So there's going to be a parameter on this material app that should be something like home page.
Can you command click this or?
Or in this case, it was home right there. It's that fourth one down.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah.
So how do so do I need to, do you do like named parameters in Dart, or like how do I get to the fourth?
You can do both named and unnamed parameters, but if you just hit comma here, this is a named parameter. If you start typing home.
I see it.
And then now it's going to want us to create a widget. So for this case right now, let's just imagine we had a widget created called chat page. So yeah. Perfect. Now let's go create this page. So we already have that pages folder. Let's create a new folder.
What's the naming convention?
Let's actually create a new folder here first to hold everything we might need for the chat page.
Cool.
So we can just call it chat, all lowercase.
Okay.
And then normally for files, it's all snake case.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So let's create another folder in here just called view. Generally for pages, we're going to have 3 child folders. So if we have like a chat page, we're going to have a view. We'll have either a block or a qubit, which is going to be the state management that we would use if there needs to be state. And then we'd also probably have a widgets folder, which this would be any kind of components that don't need to go directly in the page, but could live related to that component. So now let's go ahead and create a file here in view that's just called chatpage.dart.
See, I always want to do it. It's like,
and then let's go ahead and create another stateless widget here. Okay, so just like we did for app.dart.
Yeah, I don't have this ingrained. So class. So it's going to be class chat page extends stateless widget. What are these different ones? So you got Flutter Material, Flutter Widgets, Flutter Cupertino. Which is the right choice here? So
since we're going to be building a Material app, we'll import it from Material. That's the same widget technically included in 3 different packages. So if we were using Cupertino, for example, we would import it from Cupertino so that we don't bring a Material library item in with the Cupertino package. The widgets package is just a smaller subset of items. So that way, if you didn't want to bring in all of Material, you could bring in just the widget.
Gotcha.
So, awesome. So we have our constructor here. We still need to add the curly braces for this build method. And then we'll have to return something here. So this is a good autocomplete to start with. Every page essentially that you're going to make is going to start with a scaffold. So the easiest way to see auto completion options, if you go into the scaffold parentheses and then do control space.
Go into like, oh, in here. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then do control space.
This will show you all the options that this has by named parameters. So a scaffold is going to have pretty basic things that it could have, right? So it's going to have an app bar, which would be like that top pink bar we see on the right there. You can change colors. You can add drawers. You can do all sorts of stuff here. So that's basically what we're working with. But generally, the body is, of course, going to be the main content. But before we do anything else editing-wise, let's make sure we have all of this running properly. Let's head back to our app.dart file and import this chat page that we made. So,
I see. So if I just do chat page, there it is.
Yeah. Cool. Now let's make sure we get this preview on the right refreshing. I'm not sure if we need to hit a refresh button over there. See if that'll work for it. Or if we're running. There we go.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
So awesome. So if you're looking at our chat page.dart, we have a scaffold that's just blank. All it has is a text widget with chat page in it. Congratulations, we just made our first page in a Flutter.
That's awesome. It's probably also important to note that this emulator that we're seeing here on the right, the reason that it says web, like this is in beta, as I understand it, and they're still working on their various emulators. And this was giving us the most stable experience here for this. But the question I asked, which I was curious, like if I were to pull this into my local environment, had Xcode set up and all that, this code base would run in like Xcode simulator or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they do have Android emulator support right now on the web. We were just having some issues with it the other day, so we opted for the web emulator here. And they did at one point have iOS emulator support in the web, which is really exciting, but apparently it didn't have a great user experience, so they've removed it for now, and they're revisiting it. Awesome. So let's continue on. Generally, if I were going to make a chat application, I probably would just use a pre-built chat UI because there's so many of them now. So I would go to pub.dev, I would search chat, which pub.dev, maybe that's worth showing here, is the package manager. It would be the equivalent of looking something up on NPM. But in this case, let's just try and make it from scratch. So if we're going to think about what we need for the most basic chat, we're essentially going to have a list view of the chat bubbles. And then we're also going to have at the very bottom a text input of some sort for us to be able to send these messages, right? So on mobile, the body of our page is probably going to be that list, but that bottom bar where we can send messages, we're actually going to want that to be persistent. So there is a segment of a scaffold where we can put something in there and it will stay persistent even if it's on top of the keyboard, I believe, which is like a bottom app bar. So if we were to go back to our chat page really quick, and if we were going to pull up the autocomplete here again, so we can see it.
It's control dot, is that what you said?
Control space.
Control space, there we go, okay.
Yeah, so if we look at this and we start typing bottom, yeah, so we can use that bottom navigation bar. And you'll notice everything here just takes an optional widget. So again, pretty much everything is a widget here. So now we're going to need to make a widget for a chat bar, essentially. So let's go ahead and, again, like we did before, put in chat bar as if we had already built it. And then let's go ahead and create a new folder in our chat folder. So we have pages chat. And then let's go ahead and call it widgets. These are just going to be different components that we use here. Let's go ahead and make another stateless widget here, just called chat bar.
Chat bar.dart. It's going to do this. It's going to do its thing that it always does. Let's bring it over here. Cool. Cool. Okay, should I clean up? Like, we probably don't need to get, we could probably get rid of these for right now.
Yeah.
Chat bar. Okay, cool. Then we're going to do class chat bar extends. Is this stateless widget again, or what are we doing?
Yep, stateless widget again.
Material, okay. Open it up. Probably accept the.
Yep, and then so we'll need to return something here. So there's a whole bunch of different fields in there. For right now, let's just do text field.
Okay, so is it like text field? Oh, there it was.
Yep, text field. All right, and then go ahead and do a parentheses and then close out your curly brace just to make this all happy.
So like that? Oh, parentheses.
Sorry. Yeah.
Like this.
And then, yep.
Okay, cool. And then
I think you need
one
more.
I need one more here. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Cool. So now let's go back to chat page really quick. And let's go ahead and import this. You can hit command period to import it, or that'll give you your auto fix, and then just hit enter.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
And now let's go ahead and refresh on the emulator, see if we have our field showing.
Is there like a hotkey for this? Reload. Doesn't really say, but.
Okay. So that still doesn't seem to be showing. Let's head back over to our chat bar really quick.
Do we need to give this some input of some kind?
This just wanted a const constructor, it looks like. We may need to wrap this in some sort of container that has a height. So let's, for right now, wrap this. There's a tool. You can hit command period here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you scroll down to more actions, you can actually do wrap with widget. And then if you did like sized box.
What's up with this? And then do sized box. Where do I do sized box?
Where it says widget. So it's got it highlighted for you. So just type sized box. Ooh.
Oh. Widget. Oh, wow. Widget.
Or it should just be called sized box. So widget was a placeholder for whatever widget you would.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry.
All good. So now let's go ahead and apply a height here just so we can try and get this to show. So that's going to be a named parameter inside sized box. And we can just say, yeah, give it height 60. Let's just see if we can get it to show up.
Height 60. Got it. Cool. Let's get it to show up.
And okay, so we're starting to see something down there. Is the
I can type something.
Okay. There. So we probably were seeing it beforehand. The issue is this text field decoration is only the underline, so it was probably attached to the bottom. So we can change that. So really quick, let's go into text field here. And if you do your control space, we can see some of the options. And there should be one called decoration if you start typing decoration.
Yep.
And that's going to take an input decoration. So we'll give it that input decoration. And then there should be a, I think it's going to be called a border style. Or maybe input border would work. Or sorry, just border there.
Border.
And then pass it a object called input border.
Input border.
And really quick, will you scroll over to the right just a little bit? So do dot here. No, we don't want none. Try and create a new instance of this. So do your parentheses instead of the dot.
Okay, so parentheses. And then probably like it takes some properties like key value pairs here.
Yeah, you won't need the curly braces. They'll just be named parameters again.
Okay.
So if we pass it a border side,
okay,
and then that's going to be another object.
Yeah, we're at nesting.
Yeah. And then again, the parentheses, and then there's going to be options in here like the thickness of the, yeah.
Gotcha. So
Let's just make it stand out. Let's just set a color really quick. And let's do like colors.red. That's a capital C on colors. That's going to be a constant value.
Colors.red. Okay. And then probably width. We want to set?
Yeah, and let's set it to like 4 just so we can make sure we see this. I think there might still be an error in the file here if you hover over input border. So, all right, some of these are linting warnings. Will you click on that problems tab in the bottom left? Yeah.
Okay, let me bring this up.
So we don't need to worry about that test file. I think the first one is abstract classes can't be instantiated. So we're using an incorrect class name right now. Let me just pull something up. Make sure we do this right. So I think input border is something we're going to have to change.
Is it an abstraction? So there's some sort of like concrete version of this that we need?
Yes. So this might actually be something we change in the. Let's try this. Let's get rid of the input border for now.
Okay, so everything that's underneath this border thing, we're just gonna nix that for the moment.
Thank you, Ben. Instead of, so pass to border just a pre-made class called outlined input border.
Okay. Wow, this is not as helpful as it imagines that it is. Okay, what's the value again?
Outlined input border.
Outlined. Okay, outline input border. There we go, like that.
Yep, and then do your parentheses here. And then it looks like we are probably missing some closing parentheses. We probably shouldn't need to add any of the parameters here.
Yeah, so probably that one and another one. There we go.
Yes. I think there might have needed to be one parenthesis before height.
Before height. Here, you mean?
Yes.
Like this?
Yep, and then we'll remove one of those clothing parentheses.
Need this? Okay, one of the closing parentheses. Man. Okay.
Actually, both of those parentheses needed to be before height. Sorry, the height parameter is matching to that sized box there. So our parentheses just aren't matching up.
My bad. All right.
And then you'll need a comma after the parentheses you just added.
This one here?
Yeah. All right, so that should fix that. So let's go ahead and refresh now.
Cool.
Our emulator. Make sure we have an outlined input border working for us. Cool. So that's a little bit more obvious. Still not the best looking text field you've ever seen in your life.
But we know what it is at this point. We're moving in the right direction. I think the thing that's running through my mind too is that like one big differentiating factor from being like front end web dev is like we come from this mental model of a completely blank canvas, and unless we're pulling in a library, UI library or something like that, like blank canvas, and we're just kind of defining it. Whereas this is like your materials, your starting point. Like you can still, sounds like you can still get to that same kind of end result that we can in web dev, but that material is like your starting point.
Yeah, and the benefit of that is speed. You can still write custom painters with like fully custom components and not use material at all if you wanted to. There's just you lose out on a tremendous amount of out of the box functionality if you do that. Like all of materials widgets are going to be out of the box with like screen reading capabilities, They're going to have good contrast. Like all of these things are just going to be set up so that the developer doesn't have to think about it. And if you start going away from that stuff, you might not be adhering to all of the accessibility things that you might need, stuff like that.
So one of the places where I would be driving blind a little bit if I were doing this on my own would be like having some sort of cheat sheet that goes, oh, the outline input order is the thing I'm looking for right now. Like, do you guys have any cool resources that you reach for a lot that like remind you of like what certain things are?
Yeah, the website I generally use the most, and I'll put this in Slack that you can pull up and show really quick. It's just Materials Design website, because again, we're working off of material stuff really quick. If you want to pull that page up in Slack, yeah, it might be worth looking at.
Cool, will do. Go.
So if you go on that left section to components, it's the second to last one. This is going to be a list of pretty much all the material components that are available. So there's obviously a ton of things. If you were to click in one of these, they also are going to have implementation instructions. If you start scrolling down, or maybe guidelines. Yeah, or
guidelines. Let's see what we found.
I think actually on that main page, scroll down just a bit. Yeah, so resources, they're going to have links to how you use this in Flutter. That's cool. Going to take you to actual docs of all the properties, and this is normally where you would dig through.
Sweet. Okay, cool. And so if I were doing this for the benefit of people watching, like I am hooking these doc sites up to Cursor, and I'm doing this in Cursor. And Cursor is just going to know how to do all of it for me. But I will, by extension, learn it as I like walk through and see what it's filling in. Because this is one of those things where like Ben is calling out like, oh, it's an outline input border. Like it's because he's doing it all day and he's got the experience and the muscle memory to do it. So anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. So we have our nice little, or I won't say nice, we have our text field set up here. If you think about a chat system, we're also going to need a send button of some sort, and we're going to need them to kind of be in a row next to each other. So let's go ahead and do that. If you click on text field here in this chat bar, and then go ahead and hit command period to pull up those quick actions. This is called basically the refactor thing. So we'll go and we will scroll down to more actions in this menu.
Okay, gotcha.
And there should be a wrap with row. Yeah, that last one.
Ooh, wow, all the way above. Cool.
Cool. So now this is going to allow us to pass this a list of children that it's essentially going to put in a row here. So right after text field, let's go ahead and add a button. So you'll see your text field ends.
Text field right here, right?
No, that's the end of, yeah.
Sorry. What's the auto format or prettify thing? And like, I'm an IntelliJ guy. I'm like, you guys caught me. I'm not, VS Code bindings are not my thing.
I normally have it set up to automatically format on save. It might do that for you if you hit Command S.
Oh, looks good. Okay, cool. So now we just want to come down here and add another thing in the array.
Let's quickly fix some of these warnings too. What it's saying, part of the linter is it wants you to use const constructors when you can. So if you go up to click on sized box, for example, and then do your command period, and then just do add const modifiers everywhere in file.
Oh, got you. So I could probably do the same thing here, right? Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. So move to, nope. I need to put it on.
That's another one that we'll want to fix though. If you just want to hit enter there, it's just it makes sure the child argument is always the last one. So it's just organization type things.
Oh, got you. Okay, cool. Cool. And I feel like this should be on another line. So we're here though.
Yeah. So we're going to add a specific kind of button called an icon button.
Okay. Button.
And so this is going to take an onPressed, which this is basically going to be a function. So if you do parentheses and then curly braces.
Okay, curly braces.
Sorry, parentheses, then curly braces. I don't know the best way. So just hit the right arrow key.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we need to give this an icon as well. So we can just leave that, sorry, we can leave that function empty. So this function that you're in right now, whatever we want to happen when this button is clicked, that's what will go in this onPressed function.
Gosh, man, it's not wanting to. There we go. Okay. Oh, so this is like this is an event handler like we would have in like onClick or whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
So we will need to remove that parenthesis there that's after the onPressed.
Like this.
No, sorry, those stay there. The parentheses to the right of the curly braces.
Oh, this.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
And then
so
you'll
this
need
is
a comma.
this is what we want. Okay.
Yeah. So now we need to provide an icon here, and we have all the material icons. So yeah, click on icon there.
Can I do command period? Oh no, maybe control space. Is that it?
Yeah. So if you do icon, so hit enter.
Okay. And
then icons with an S, all capital.
Oh shoot. Icon. Oh, all capital.
Or first letter capital. And then dot send. So now we're looking through a library of icons that we want to use.
Oh, that's cool. So this is all coming from the material UI stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really quick, let's hover over the onPress. It looks like there's an error there. Yeah. It's going to say invalid constant value. So that const that we just added in front of sized box, we need to get rid of that. And now it's going to try and put a const on a lower level. Yeah. So if we do the command period there, and then add const, and you might have to do it again. There's a add const everywhere in file. Yeah. So now go ahead and refresh and let's see what we're working with.
All right, cool. That's good. I'll get the hang of that. Like fix it everywhere in file here in a second.
Yeah.
Figure that out. All right. Is it unhappy with us? Do we need to look at problems now?
I don't think so. Maybe there's we click on debug console.
Sure.
At the bottom there. Are there any logs, or maybe even in the, I'm not sure exactly where we're going to get this. It might be output. So recompiled. There may be an issue with the format here, but I'm not sure where we would get our logs for this emulator.
Well, it's filtered all to IDX. So
if you click on that drop down, is there an emulator option?
Don't see emulator. I can get to terminal. Flutter. Maybe this one is this. This is the thing that's running it. Nope. Get IDX extension maybe.
Normally it would come out in your debug console.
Okay, like if you were locally in VS Code.
Yeah.
So maybe let's just do a refresh while the debug consoles going.
Logan asked, does the debug badge in the browser do anything? No, that's something you can turn off even in debug mode if you want. It's just to specify that this is a debug build. Let's see. Let me pull up IDX real quick. I probably can imagine what the issue is here. If we want to try and fix it, if you click on text field really quick, and then do your command period for your quick actions, let's wrap with a widget.
Okay.
And then just type expanded with a capital E.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was right.
Expanded. There we go.
Yeah. And now see if refreshing this will load for you.
Okay.
Cool. So the error that we were getting there is essentially we put these items in a row, but it doesn't know what size to give those child components. So what expanded does is it just says use this component to take up as much of the row as possible, and then whatever's left, give that to the other component. So now we're working with, we got this decent chat text field, and we got a button. And if you were to hover over that button, you should see some feedback showing you that it's clickable, because we have technically a function passed into onPressed. Even though it doesn't do anything, it still technically has a function. So in that icon button, if you were to just give it null for onPressed, that would actually disable the button.
Oh, I see. So if I give it null here?
Yeah. And then hit save and refresh this.
Oh, shoot. My bad. My bad. I refreshed it all right. We're going to get a big refresh. All right. So
I think you might still have to refresh the emulator. I think it persisted the state there.
Interesting.
But yeah, you'll see it's now more grayed out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So we'll leave it like that for now until we attach some functionality to it?
Yeah. So let's do one more formatting thing just for my sanity. I don't like this text field going all the way to the left of the screen. So let's wrap the sized box widget, that outermost widget we have. So you can do that command period. And then let's do wrap with padding.
Wrap with padding.
And this will automatically set the padding to 8 on all sides. So you can refresh and see how that looks. Or if you want to up it to 16, we can do that too. Nice. I think that looks fine.
Like that. Yeah.
Cool. So let's go ahead and let's fix up our linter a little bit just so we can get rid of these warnings. So all these underlines.
All right. So that's going to be command period to fix things everywhere in file. Okay.
Boom. Good to go. Cool. So I think we're at 12:42 right now. We don't have terribly long left. I think this one we should continue on with the UI, and maybe in part 2, that's when we can start bringing in some of the logic for interacting. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I'm down to get as far as you're the you're the sensei here. You tell me what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. So if you guys do have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in chat, and we'll continue working. And if you guys have questions, we'll pause and answer them. But so let's quickly go back to the chat page.
Okay, chat page.
So to recap what we said earlier, we have our scaffold, right? We have the body. Now we have our bottom navigation bar, which is technically our chat bar. The body, we really want to be a list of messages. So let's go ahead and remove this center with the chat page text and just put in a widget here as if we had made it. And let's call it just chat list.
Chat list. Does that look good?
Yep. And now let's go ahead and go to our widgets folder, and let's go ahead and make that new widget.
Chat list updart. Okay, thank you. Cool. And so class chat list extends. We're on stateless widget again. Material. Boom. Do that. Okay. And then what are we going to do here? Return something.
Yep. So we'll do a listview.builder here.
It knows.
And yep, it knows.
Okay.
Awesome. So there's some required parameters that we're going to need to put here. But let's quickly pause for a second. So there's a couple types of list views. You saw that you could have just done a normal list view, which is going to interact very similar to like that row where you're just going to pass it a list of whatever you want it to show. The listview.builder is going to take an item count, how many items are in the list, and then it's also going to take a function that's going to be essentially a builder function of those items. There's performance benefits to using listview.builder. So when you can use it, you should. Essentially, it will only render the items that are actually getting displayed on screen. So if we were to have a normal list view and pass 5,000 chat messages into it, you're going to have a really bad performance issue. With listview.builder, you're not going to really have any performance drop off.
And it will like lazy load those things as you like scroll them into view or what have you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if lazy load's the right term. I don't want to act like it's going to go fetch them from the API lazily for you. It's just going to render them only when needed. So we'll still have to handle any sort of API type fetching if we need to do that.
Yeah, when we think about lazy loading on the front end, at least me, I'm strictly thinking about like when something actually gets rendered to the page. It could also include some API fetching, like optionally if needed, depending on the implementation. But
okay, so let's go ahead and try and get some chat messages in here. So let's go ahead and hit Control Space and see our optional parameters. So obviously item builder is going to be a required one. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's going to prompt you with a function. Let's actually choose that second one so we have a normal function. Yeah. So you're going to have your build context here and your index. So build context is obviously passed through all the widgets, and it's going to give you information for the widgets that need to be built. It's something that you really have to pay attention to, especially when dealing with like navigation or interacting with logic. But here we probably won't need to worry about it too much. The index is really what we're after. So
each item in this collection of things that we're listing out is going to get the context that we're returning from this right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's right now let's keep it super simple. Let's just return. So type return, and then we'll return a text widget.
Okay. Text with.
Or sorry, it's just called text.
Text. Okay.
Yep. And then you can just do a string in here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is just going to act as like a placeholder. And then we can you can type like index and then $index. So it'll just be like index1, index2.
Index, $. So this is like string interpolation going on right here? Okay.
Yep. And then, yep. And now we also need to pass it an item count. So just like we passed the item builder, there'll be another name parameter, not inside of text, inside of the listview.builder.
Oh, so in here, we're going to go item count?
Yep. And then just do like 10.
Okay.
Okay, so let's head back to our chat page. I think we just need to import this new widget we've built here.
And that was what, command dot, right? Import?
Yep.
That's good.
And now let's give it a refresh.
Okay.
Cool. So we have our text printing out in a list. If you were to go over there in the emulator and click and drag up and down, you should see that it'll scroll. Maybe not on web.
Not yet.
Okay, we might have to, if really quick, just to make sure that that's working, let's head back to our chat list widget, make this like 100.
Yeah. I'm with you. What we got? Not able to drag it.
Will it go off of your scroll wheel?
Yes, it will.
Okay. That might just be some weirdness with the emulator.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Artifact of the web emulator.
Cool. So we are going to want this to be reversed, right, and start at the bottom. So let me make sure I know the parameters here.
I'm cheating over here, trying something. There's a reverse true.
Yep. That should work. Yep. So now all we would have to do theoretically, if we had chat messages, we would just need to make sure they're sorted properly by when they were sent, right? But this isn't what chat looks like. Normally, you're going to have what did I send, what did the chat bot sent, and it's going to go on different size, right? So right now, our chat item is just text, but really we're probably going to want to make another widget for that, right? So maybe we can make a new widget called chat message to replace that.
I have a quick question. Like, I think that I brought this up before. Like, in full stack web dev world, you run into a lot of scenarios where you got to have some sort of like faker factory when you're in dev to like dummy up a bunch of stuff. Like whether you're working with Firebase or whatever else. Do you guys have some different tools that you use when you got to build something? You need at least some fake data to work with to build it.
We haven't used too terribly much to actually create fake data. We obviously use like Mocktail and Makito to generate mocks for testing, which might involve some fake data, but we aren't normally responsible as the team for generating a bunch of fake data. We might set up some basic data if we're using Firebase, but normally that's not so intense that we need a script for it. If we did, we would write some sort of script there.
Because for me, like I'm going to go and create myself a little quick like Laravel thing that just fakes out a bunch of data and use that to pull it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So where are we going next?
So we only have 10 minutes left, but let's try and get our chat message widget made. So let's go ahead and create a new widget, and we'll just call it chat message.
Okay.
Loves doing this thing to you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out like what on earth is going on with this thing. It is like totally just ruined our day. All right, here we go. Class chat message extends stateless widget. All right, AI, do your thing. Here we go. Nope.
Cool. So right now it's just returning this list. So generally you're going to have a background for a message. I like using an out-of-the-box widget called card. So if you want to replace text here with something called card. And then the card's going to take a child, not a string. So we need to get rid of that string called hello, or it's trying to wrap it in a list tile for you.
Yeah.
That's actually fine. That's probably where we're heading.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. But the Gemini is all happening at the same time.
Like Gemini's
Cool. So right now, a list tile is a very basic building block from Flutter or from Material that you're going to use a ton. And it generally has like a leading icon, a title, a subtitle, which is optional, and then trailing icons. So in this case, let's get rid of the subtitle.
Okay, so that would be just this piece right here.
Yeah. And we're going to need to pass in a couple parameters here. So if we go up to right under our chat message constructor.
Right under, okay, right here.
Yeah, let's add a variable. You'll do final. And then we'll do a string. And then, you can do text. And then we're going to need to add this as a parameter on our chat message. So the way parameters work on the constructors is if it is not in curly braces, then it is a positional argument. If it is in curly braces, it would be a named argument. And then with named,
would it be this that I would wrap in curly braces if I wanted it named?
Well, so we'll add it in that line above. So right in front of super.key there. So this is basically a super argument that you can pass, where we would do this.text. But you'll notice that there's an underline here. Because string is not nullable, we need to make sure that this is required. So there's actually a required parameter that you can put in front of this.text. So it would be required space this.text. So this is going to make sure, like anywhere that somebody news up a chat message, they have to pass this text parameter.
Got it.
So now on line 11, where we have title text hello, let's replace hello with just the variable that we have called text.
Got it. Or is it this.text? Like that? Or
it should have just been text. I'm wondering if it's not liking the fact that it's named. Let's rename our variable to message really quick.
Message, and this should be this.message. Oops, shoot, sorry. This.message.
And then change that to message.
Message.
It's still not liking that. Will you hover over it and see what it's saying?
Oops, that was command period. Sorry.
Not giving a second.
Why is it saying extract local variable? Is there something that we need to do to be able to use it inside this execution context in here or something?
No, being a stateless widget, you should be able to access it directly here. Final string message, or this dot message. That is odd. I don't think it needs to be widget.message Randall because it's a stateless widget. You can try that though if you want to do widget.message.
Widget.message.
Yeah.
Also unhappy.
So message should be correct here. Oh, I know what it is. We need to get rid of that const in front of card. It did not give a very helpful. Yeah.
Is that because it's mutable? Like the variable's mutable, so this thing can't be a const?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So okay. So now we have this chat message. Let's go to chat list again, and let's go ahead and swap in our new widget. So if you just want to, where you have text, we can change that text widget to a chat message.
Chat message.
And it's going to automatically pop up with that required variable that we have. And here you can just pass that string again if you just want to do index.
Gotcha. Index, and then it was $index.
Yeah. So now let's go ahead and refresh this. And now we should see our messages in cards.
Dude.
Cool.
Sweet. Dude, I'm starting to get I'm starting to get the feel for it. Like I can kind of start to feel where the edges are, where I really would need some practice to get decent with it. But this has been super helpful. I know we're 3 minutes to the hour. Do you want to kind of wrap here and state intentions for the future and that kind of thing?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and push this up to the GitHub repository so you have a save spot. Guys, thank you all for tuning in. Obviously, I think this went pretty well. We ran into a couple snags where we needed chat's help, but other than that, this went pretty well for live coding something. If you guys enjoyed this, let us know. Obviously, for us to actually build an app, it would be a multi-part series here. And if you guys have any feedback, please reach out to me or Will about it. Yeah. You guys have any final questions before we wrap up here? Got some claps from Zach.
Well, I'm super pumped. I think next time, didn't fully follow what you were saying because I was making that Git commit, but I think next time our intention is to start to try to build out some of the functionality like the interactivity and perhaps even get into a little bit of, pulling in some open AI or something like that into it.
Yep. So we should wrap up our little message widget here, make sure it looks right with different colors. Then we can do sending some message just to like a local list. Then from there, we'll pull in Vertex AI and see if we can actually get talking to something.
Well, thank you. This has been a lot of fun for me. I hope everybody that came and watches it afterwards, the recorded stream, gets as much out of it as I did. You really should be getting all the tacos in the Black Airplane Slack today because I just showed up to learn. So thanks for being willing to do this. I genuinely appreciate it.
Of course, shout out to you for deciphering my commands. It's always like leading somebody over a telephone, So